Hi listeners, old and new, Coach Kevin Dunn here with another weekly injection of fitness facts. This week I wanted to talk about motivation in the gym and what to do when you feel like you're just spinning your wheels. Now, as someone who's trained in some form since 4 or 5 years old in multiple different sports, as well as the adjunct training to support those sports, training had always been something that came naturally for me and I never called it into question. I was always happy to wake up early, fuel myself, go to the gym and do some strength and conditioning work, and then continue with more sport-specific training later on in the day. That is, until March 23rd, 2020, when Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced a national lockdown. When it was announced, I was actually in the local sports centre swimming in the pool. Suddenly, the pool attendants announced that the centre was closing immediately and turned the lights off. The rules in Scotland were very strict. Only allowed to travel within a 5-mile radius of our homes. We could only be outdoors for 30 minutes for exercise alone. And, of course, gyms were closed and fines were handed out to people who were alone in a kayak on a lake or alone up a mountain. So basically, all fitness had to stop. Now, at the beginning, I thought, okay, no problem. I'll borrow a barbell and get some rocks from a local river, and I'll train that way for a few weeks. A few weeks became a few months. A few months turned into over a year. My motivation plummeted, and I just couldn't do it anymore. Eventually, gyms did reopen. But when I went back, it had been so long, I didn't really know why I was there anymore. I found it hard to accept how physically diminished I had become. I also realized that perhaps social aspects of training had been more important to me than I wanted to admit, and with people acting super cagey after lockdowns, unwilling to share a barbell or chat to strangers, I found it tough going. So I decided that to solve the problem, I would have a deeper look at what was really going on, which of course was something psychological and emotional. In the absence of injury, if you're choosing not to train, we can probably say that in most cases, outside of economic ones, that it's psychological. And understanding what's going on inside your head could be the difference between improving your health and sitting on the sofa reaching for another Twinkie. Now, feelings, attitudes, and their connection with mental health are related to Abraham Maslow's theory of motivation. Maslow was an American psychologist, most famous for creating a hierarchy of needs. This hierarchy states that there's a pyramid-like structure to human needs, with the bottom layers of the hierarchy needing to be in place and being met before the next higher layer of needs can be built. Self-fulfillment needs are closer to the top of the pyramid and must be built upon psychological needs, which in turn are built upon basic needs. You probably know basic needs, such as food and water, sleep, shelter and warmth, safety and security. Then there are psychological needs, which can only be met when basic needs are fulfilled, those provided by intimate relationships and friendships. Self-fulfillment needs, such as working on unlocking your potential, being creative, having some recreational activities, they're only able to be built upon the others. So when I looked at the previous 2 years in and out of lockdowns, I realized that psychological needs and physiological needs were not being met. I had been forced into returning home to the UK, and I obviously work in the fitness industry, so with gyms closed, I had no sense of safety and security. Above that, we were unable to participate in sports or meet friends, so my psychological needs were not being met at all. According to Maslow, it would be impossible for me to have that sense of accomplishment, to be able to go to work on my maximum human potential, because none of the parts and pieces below that were in place anymore. So I developed a plan to work on putting the lower levels of the hierarchy in place first. Maslow's hierarchy makes sense to me because how can you possibly expend energy on training, which is a stress, if you already have significant stressors acting upon you? That sense of dissatisfaction that we feel when we cannot work on self-actualization was further reinforced by an eminent psychologist called Frederick Herzberg, who noted that individuals are not content with the satisfaction of fulfilling lower-order needs, and that people look to the gratification of higher-order needs of achievement and advancement. He also noted that satisfaction on a continuum did not increase as needs decreased. So that is to say, that fulfilling all basic needs doesn't provide the same satisfaction as having the self-actualization of achieving goals. Now, whilst advancement and achievement provide satisfaction, it's important to bear in mind that can only be achieved when basic needs are first met. And that parallels what I often talk about here on Get Fit Guy, which is, an advanced movement like a handstand push-up might provide satisfaction because it's an achievement. But you also won't be able to do one if you can't do a basic push-up or hold a tight core to extremity position. You may want the advanced achievement of running a marathon, but you're unlikely to be able to express that without first building volume at shorter distances. The list goes on and on. Without fundamentals, you won't have anything to build upon, and you won't be able to achieve your goals. The same goes for life. If you don't have shelter, sleep, nutrition, hydration, job security, and healthy relationships with friends, family, and loved ones, then you might not be able to even sustain going to the gym to develop those fundamentals in the first place. So, to summarize, if you're feeling dissatisfied or demotivated at the gym, I would actually track back as far as possible through the hierarchy of needs to see if anything is missing there in terms of your basic physiological and psychological needs before I look to blame a lack of motivation or trying to just switch things up. It might be that working on your basic needs would be a more admirable way to direct your energy right now, and this will allow greater actualization of goals down the line. Remember, if you have any questions for me, email me on getfitguy@quickanddirtytips.com, and I'll do my best to get a reply to you or answer your question on the show. Get Fit Guy is a Quick and Dirty Tips podcast, thanks to the team at Quick and Dirty Tips. Me, Morgan Christensen, Holly Hutchins, and Director of Podcasts, Brannon Getchis, also Davina Tomlin. Have a question, you can also voicemail me, 510-353-3104. Again, email me, getfitguy@quickanddirtytips.com. Visit quickanddirtytips.com for more information or check out the show notes in whatever podcast app you're using.